Man, what's going on today, man? You already know what I'm here for, man. Another reaction video for y'all, man. Straight out of Oakland, California. Another documentary, man, about the biggest pimp. You feel me? Frank Ward, man. We gonna get right into it, man. You feel me? An unfortunate situation happened to him where I guess he had got murdered. You feel me? I don't know. We gonna get into it though. You feel me? But hey, before we get into this video, man, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for your boy. Hey, man, if you fuck with my channel, man, run me up. Run them likes up, run them subscribers up, man. You dig what I'm saying, man? Share the content. You dig, man? Share it, man. You feel me? Support the content, man. I really appreciate it. You feel me? I know I say feel me hella times, so I just be like, you feel me? That's just a habit. I don't know, man. But hey, I ain't gonna hold y'all for too long, man. Before we get into this video, though, I'm finna hit you with this intro, too. Let's hit him with the intro. Let's get it.
Ready or not? Ready or not? Here I come. Can't hide. Gonna find you and then yo. I play my enemies like a game of chess where I rest. No stress.
Oakland, California, October 9th, 1972. A Rolls Royce parked, two people inside, gunshots, close range. Both of them dead before anybody could even get to the car. One of them is a woman, the other is a 32-year-old man named Franklin Delano Ward. Everybody just called him Frank. Want to know the wild part? More than 50 years later, nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever been arrested for this. Not one charge, not one name that stuck. It is, right now, as you're watching this video, technically still an open case, sitting in a filing cabinet somewhere in Oakland, collecting dust. When Frank Ward died, he was in the middle of shooting a movie where the main character was based directly on him, a movie that would go on to become one of the most influential and heavily referenced films in hip-hop culture. He never got to see it finished. I ain't gonna lie, this is what pulled me into researching this one. It's not just a murder mystery, it's a murder mystery that's been hiding in plain sight for over 50 years inside one of the most quoted, most influential movies black cinema has ever produced. Millions of people have watched the Mack. Almost none of them know the guy it's dedicated to was murdered before he ever saw a single frame. This is the story of Frank Ward and the Ward brothers, Oakland's most notorious pimps, the real-life inspiration behind the Mack, and a murder that's been sitting unsolved since disco was still considered a good idea. Stick around because the ending ain't gonna wrap up the way you want it to. All right, let's run this back. Most folks hear Oakland pimps, 1970s, and they picture something that just appeared out of nowhere, fully formed. Sunglasses on, chain around the neck, born ready for it. It started in Alabama, cotton fields, a sharecropping family, deeply religious, church every single Sunday, the kind of household that should never in a million years produce five brothers who end up running one of the most talked about criminal operations on the entire West Coast. Drew, Charles, Willie, Frank, Ted, five brothers, Alabama to Oakland. And by the back half of the 60s, they weren't just working the streets, they were the streets. This wasn't corner hustle stuff. This was what the era called the Mack game, a whole subculture with its own status economy, its own hierarchy, its own unwritten rule book, custom cars, tailored suits, a code you did not break ever, no matter what. And look, I gotta be real with you. The Ward name carried further than most people realize. Their circle reportedly crossed into professional sports. We're talking Oakland A's players, Reggie Jackson, Jay Payton.
What?
Supposedly, not long after the Oakland Coliseum installed one of the first electronic scoreboards there, Jackson reportedly arranged for it to flash a message for the entire stadium to see. Welcome to the Ward brothers. In lights, at a ballpark. Real subtle, guys. That's not underground. That's a family operating like local royalty in broad daylight with absolutely no shame about it whatsoever. Now, don't get it twisted. These weren't good guys doing good things. Let's not romanticize this. But you can't understand how a murder like this stayed unsolved for this long without understanding just how deep this family's roots went into that city. When somebody's that connected, that visible, that liked by half the town and feared by the other half, a case doesn't get simpler because of it. It gets buried slowly under decades of people who really do not want to talk. Cotton fields to Cadillac wheels, that's the whole story right there in one line. And honestly, it kind of rhymes. They also had real names behind them doing the work, not just Frank alone. Roosevelt Taylor, Jay Payton again, a man named Don Barksdale, who, by the way, was already a bona fide basketball legend in that city long before any of this. These weren't background characters Hollywood invented later for flavor. These were real people in Frank's actual circle, names on actual documents. Now, real quick, if you're wondering what exactly a Mack even is, because I know some of y'all in the comments are going to ask, it's not just slang for pimp. It's specifically a pimp who made it to the very top of that world, the guy other pimps studied and copied, the standard everybody else in Oakland was measuring themselves against. Not the kind of fame that gets you a key to the city, but the kind where absolutely everybody in a 5-mile radius knows your name, your car, and your face, whether they've ever spoken to you or not. 1972, a director named Michael Campus comes to Oakland to make a film about that whole pimp subculture. It'll eventually be called The Mack. Problem is, you don't just roll up into Frank Ward's Oakland with a film crew and start shooting whatever you want. This is his territory. You want the real spots, the pool halls, the barber shops, the after hours joints, you go through Frank first. No exceptions, no negotiating around it, no in between. So Campus does. And by his own account years later, Frank's response wasn't hostile at all. It was strictly business. He wanted to know plainly what was in it for him. Once Campus made it clear Frank would be in the movie, not just tolerated on set, but in it, credited, the doors open. All of it. What Frank provided was wild in scope, protection for the cast and crew in neighborhoods a film crew had no business walking into alone, access to locations no outsider could have gotten near on their own, and extras, real people, straight out of his world, not actors, actual women, actual pimps, folks living rough on the same block the movie wanted to portray. There was even a real event, an actual one called the Players Ball, basically the Oscars of that whole scene, best dress, best car, best everything. And the movie didn't even bother faking it on some studio backlot. They just brought cameras to the real one and filmed it as it actually happened. Let me say this real quick. Pimping is not some glamorous side hustle. It's exploitation, full stop, and nothing in this video is meant to make that sound cute. What we're covering here is how one man's real, documented life became the blueprint for a piece of that same life ended in a murder nobody's ever solved. Damn. Those two things can both be true at once, and it's on us to hold them both instead of picking the fun half.
He was pimping and mobbing.
In exchange, Frank got a credited role, so did his brother Ted, and technical advisor credits also went to Willie and Andrew, that's Drew, using his full first name for the credits. This wasn't a solo cameo, this was a family production top to bottom, all four brothers with their names printed on the paperwork. And the film's lead character, Goldie, played by Max Julian, based directly on Frank. Even the soundtrack had real weight behind it. Motown put Willie Hutch on scoring duties, and the Brothers Gonna Work It Out single blew up before the movie even hit theaters. That's how much buzz was already building around this thing before a single ticket sold. They shot from early September to late December of 1972, all around Oakland and San Francisco. And somewhere in that production paperwork, the studio wrote down a line that would end up meaning a whole lot more than anybody intended when they typed it. The film's dedication would eventually read, quote, "In memory of a man, Frank D. Ward." Frank didn't make it to the end of the shoot. October 9th, right in the middle of production, Frank Ward is sitting in his Rolls Royce when he's shot. A woman named Blanche Bernard, who was with him, is killed too. Her side of this story barely made it into any record at all, which honestly says a lot about whose lives get remembered in detail and who's just become a footnote in somebody else's headline. Just a car, parked, and then it's over. Gunfire. That's all it took to end a man's life and take out whatever future he thought he still had left. Wild part,
Yeah,
they
32.
kept filming.
It's a
The
youngster.
movie about his world had to keep running without him, because
Damn.
apparently the streets don't pause production for anybody, not even the guy who made the whole thing possible in
Back
the
in their
first
days,
place.
they looked like OGs.
And right
had
away,
youngsters.
the Black Panthers theory started making the rounds. There had been real reported friction between the Panthers and the production during the shoot, and that's apparently where this rumor first caught fire. It spread for decades. To this day, it's still the version most people online will repeat to you, word for word, like they were personally standing there in 1972, which statistically they were not. But see, nearly 50 years later, an Oakland author named Chloe Silvers spent years digging into this as a genuine cold case, tracking down people who really knew the family, not just internet comment sections and old message boards. And according to her investigation, there's no real evidence tying the Panthers to the murder. That theory, according to her own research, just doesn't hold up under any real weight. Think about everybody else we've covered. No wiretaps, no informants flipping on each other in a courtroom, no 95-count federal indictment with the detective's name stamped on a 100-page affidavit. None of that exists here because Frank Ward was never actually put on trial for anything. So instead of a paper trail, we've got rumors, a couple of blurry photographs, and one very persistent, very unsolved case file. 50-plus years, a locally famous man, murdered in his own Rolls Royce mid-production on the exact story that was busy documenting his own life in real time. You genuinely could not write that irony into a script and have anybody believe it. And still, nothing. No arrest, no trial, no closure for anybody who loved this guy underneath all the myth. This is where things get weird, and real talk, I'd rather show you that mess than pretend it's clean, because pretending helps absolutely nobody watching this. One version says that after Frank's funeral, his brother Ted fled straight to New Orleans and was never seen back in the Bay Area again. That the murder just scattered whatever was left of the family overnight, everybody going in different directions. A different version from people who claim to have known them personally says the brothers stayed right there in Oakland, went into other lines of work entirely, and lived out full lives before eventually passing away naturally. Decades later, old men far from that world. Put yourself in Ted's shoes, whichever version's true. Your brother, your business partner, the guy whose face is basically your own, gets shot dead in his own car, mid-sentence, mid-life. What you supposed to do after that? Run, stay and hold the family together? There's no right answer there, and maybe that's exactly why the story splits into two versions instead of one. One thing we do know, the family's own account of themselves years down the line describes walking away from that whole lifestyle, pimping, macking, all of it, and turning toward faith instead. Whether that's the full truth or a softened version, for the record, I'll let you be the judge of that one. Now check this out. Some records suggest, and I need to stress, this still needs confirming before anybody treats it as gospel, that another brother, Charles Ward, may have died a full year before Frank did, back in 1971. If that's true, this family was already grieving one brother before the murder everybody remembers. That's not a footnote. That's a family absorbing hit after hit while the cameras kept rolling right around them. Business as usual on the outside, world falling apart underneath. The Mack came out in 1973, months after Frank was killed. He never saw it. The director, Michael Campus, passed away himself back in 2015, and as far as anybody publicly knows, he took whatever else he really understood about Frank to the grave along with him. The film went on to become one of the defining pieces of blaxploitation cinema, endlessly quoted, endlessly sampled, and referenced across decades of hip-hop, still relevant more than 50 years later. Dialogue from this movie has reportedly been sampled in tracks by Tupac Shakur, Dr. Dre, and Ludacris, and referenced by artists like Jay-Z and Snoop Dogg. Quentin Tarantino loved this movie so much, he wrote explicit references to it directly into his own script for True Romance back in 1993.
That's crazy.
Every single time somebody samples a line from the Mack, they are, whether they realize it or not, sampling a world that Frank Ward literally bled out in the middle of documenting. For years, the Ward name mostly survived as legend. Word of mouth gets bigger and blurrier with every single retelling until nobody's sure what's fact and what's just barbershop talk anymore. It took until 2021 for somebody to actually try and pin the real story down for good. Chloe Silvers, an Oakland native, published The Fabulous Ward Brothers, the original Macks, the first real attempt to separate documented fact from decades of myth, landing just shy of the 50th anniversary of Frank's murder, going back through old records, old neighbors, whoever would still talk to her after 50 years of silence.
50 years.
That's not an easy book to write. You're not just reporting on strangers, you're reporting on a piece of your own city's memory, the kind neighbors still whisper about on porches instead of saying outright. Takes a certain kind of stubborn to finish that job instead of just letting the legend keep doing the talking for another 50 years. Her framing of it stuck with me, so let me leave you with something close to her own words on it. This isn't just a story about pimps and Macks. It's a story about brothers born to sharecroppers in the segregated South who ended up, decades later, immortalized on a movie screen. One of them murdered before the credits ever even rolled. So, what do you even do with a story like that? Built on a film that made him a legend, cut short by a murder nobody has ever answered for. Not once, not in 50 plus years, and counting. I don't think there's a clean answer here, and if you were expecting one, sorry. Real life doesn't wrap up in 18 minutes the way this video is about to. 50 plus years later, the case is still open. Somewhere out there, right now, somebody still knows exactly what happened in that Rolls Royce that night. Maybe they'll talk one day, maybe they never will. Either way, that dedication card is still the last word anybody officially got on Frank Ward in memory of a man and nothing more. So yeah, that's the story of Frank Ward and the Ward brothers. The real Goldie, Oakland's original Mack, murdered mid-movie in a case that's technically still open right now as you're sitting there watching this on your phone, probably in bed, probably at 2 in the morning, no judgment. If you rocked with this one, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, drop a comment with who you want us to dig into next. Real names, real cases, real cities, we go wherever the story leads. We read every single comment, I promise you that. Until next time, this has been Hood Archives. Stay safe out there, watch who you trust, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Man, damn, shit be crazy, man. 50 years, bro. And the cool thing about it, I never knew that. I always thought the Mack was based on like Fillmore Slim or some other pimp. Man, that's crazy. I never knew that was a pimp in Oakland, you feel me, that was pushing the line as hard as him. You feel what I'm saying? That's crazy, man. And Cause I always thought that the Mack was based on something out that way, man. That's crazy how Oakland, bro. You know what I'm saying? But talent wise, and like geniuses and all type, but like Oakland, man, it raised a lot of geniuses, some leaders, some real big names. You feel what I'm saying? From sport, from everything, man. To be so small, you feel me? And they be sleeping on Oakland and keep it 100 with you because, man, it was a lot of shit that Oakland, you know what I'm saying, created or did or opened up. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? And they just sit there because it's just so small and a city that you really don't hear about like that. That you know, but you just don't hear about like that because they don't want to put it out there like that because it's one of them small cities that just, you feel me? See, they took all our sports already from us, man. One time we used to have hella shit in Oakland. They ain't took everything. This motherfucker is just down and segregated and all type of shit. This motherfucker used to be popping and shit. You feel what I'm saying? That shit crazy, man. How that shit go like. It's crazy being a leader of whatever, but when you're a leader, you gotta always look over your shoulders like you the main target. You feel me? Because even though they was 5 deep, he was the one. You see, when something happened to him, they ass couldn't even stay together. They all start breaking up. And, you know what I'm saying? It be confusion and frustration. They be so angry. They start taking out on each other and shit. You feel me? That's why it's good that, like, since it was all 5 of them, all the 5 of them should have had that leader role. You feel me? So they know, like, something happened to one brother. You feel me? Because shit don't last forever. At least another brother could step in. You feel me? You want it like that, or you feel me? Don't just end up running out for some, you know what I'm saying? Running from each other, not keeping a contact and all that other shit. You feel what I'm saying? But damn, that's crazy, man. 50 years. Strong, you feel me? 32. They 32s. They be looking like they was OGs at their age 32. But that's crazy. He didn't get to finish the Mack though. That's based on him right there, bro. That's crazy, man. I never knew that, man. That shit be crazy, man. What you you know, some documentaries, man, that they be coming out with that you never knew. You know what I'm saying? It opened up some shit that you never knew about, you know what I'm saying, from back in the days, you feel me? That you would think, and you be like, oh, I thought this was based on, oh, I thought, you know what I'm saying, like the New Jack City one, like, oh, I thought this was based on some people in New York, or I thought this was based on Felix Mitchell, or you feel me? Until you see the documentary, and tell you about, and then the documentary bring that movie that they did based on that person, you feel what I'm saying? And he was actually in this movie, man. He like, y'all want to do something on me? You gotta put me in it in real life, pimping and shit, man. But I always thought pimping was more like mellow. You feel me? He was pushing a line kind of hard. He wasn't on no mellow hype. You feel me? So he probably was in something deeper than what we expect. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? It probably wasn't pimping nobody's sister or mama. It was probably, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, man, he had pull around that motherfucker. And when you got pull, you a target. You feel me? That motherfuckers don't like motherfuckers with pull. That's why to this day that motherfucker murder silent. That's crazy though. But man, I ain't finna hold y'all up for too long. All I want to say, man, if you watch this to the end, man, I appreciate you, man. Like I say, man, you fuck with my channel, you fuck with me, run them likes up. Start subscribing to the channel, you feel me? Continue to run the channel up, man. Continue to support the channel, man. I appreciate it. You dig what I'm saying? And don't forget to share the content, you know what I'm saying? Bring others involved, you know what I'm saying? That's how you can spread my content, you feel me? And I appreciate it, like I say, man. And like I always say, man, be mindful, be safe, be smart, and don't be stupid. Until the next one, I'm out. Peace.